my channel. Hey yo, listen up, yeah. Hey yo, the wireless woman.
You in charge of the girls, right?
I am in charge of the girls.
Are you in charge of the girls?
I am in charge of the girls.
Okay.
All right, Wi-Fi's. Welcome back to yet another underground transmission of the Wireless Woman. Go ahead and do me a favor on your way in and like this video. Why? Because when you like it, well, I love it. Also, if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. And make sure to click that notification bell for notifications of when I upload new content and when I go live. And like I keep telling y'all, this is going to be important for the new year. I'm going to be working full time. I am going to be in school full time and in a new house. So I cannot promise you that the consistency that I have lured you into expecting from me will continue. So you definitely want to click that bell for notifications so that we can stay connected on this wireless journey that we started so many months ago. I wanted to come in today because I had seen a few videos that really helped me to widen my perspective. One thing about me is my goal is not to be right. My goal is to collect a consciousness that allows everyone to be able to find themselves, be represented in a way that's dignifying, so that we can begin to build a more perfect, harmonious union. I don't know anybody right now that isn't feeling alienated, attacked, and this can't be what society, with all of our technological advancements, was supposed to lead us to. We have a lot of primitive, adapting, coping mechanisms that were given to us way back in Cro-Magnon, Homo habilis, Homo sapien, Homo erectus days that caused us to evolve into the creatures that we are today. But it doesn't change anything about the fact that we were not created to touch this many lives. We were not created to have so much convenience at our fingertips. It has degraded our physical, physiological, emotional, psychological, spiritual health to have this much information coming at us. The saddest part about that is for all that technology, social media, platforms have given us hasn't created solidarity, hasn't created unity, hasn't broke down the lines of isms and given us a greater understanding of each other by which to form bridges. Nah, we out here with torches, burning bridges, and disregarding the experiences and perceptions of others. So lately, I have been seeing a lot of brown people come out and begin to attack the systems that used to extend to them white privilege. Because let's be honest, a lot of Hispanics check white when it comes to race. And I keep trying to explain to people that Hispanic is not a race. How could it be if you could be white and Hispanic? One of those things is an ethnicity, and the other thing is a race. So if you can't check it on this box, and you can't call it a race, it's an ethnicity. You can be black and Hispanic. You can be white and Hispanic, evidently. You can be Asian and Hispanic because the only ethnicity there is to be Hispanic or not. And for all of the people who identify with being Hispanic, I gotta say, as a black person who has actually had to fight for civil rights in this country, yeah, I mean, it was not me, but I mean, it was like less than a generation ago that my mom was in a segregated school. My mom has lived in the Jim Crow South. So, yeah, there's still a little work to do there. And as someone who's been out in these activism streets, I can honestly say that we as Black people are not removed enough from the struggle for civil rights to not be able to reach across the aisle and know it when we see it. The problem is that so many Hispanic people have been willing to identify with the white power structure and be a part of the system that oppresses Black people, that many of them can't see the hand of white supremacy on their throat, choking them out. They literally, quite unequivocally, are the new slaves in this country. And even though they use a lot of the mechanisms of white supremacy to get to the goals and dreams that they have for each other, there is a lot of segment of society that they themselves are also not able to participate in because they use immigration the way that they used a lot of segregation tactics against blacks.
DACA, you know, y'all have had the president and the majority. Why don't you ask them? Y'all keep using this issue with Hispanics just to get our support, just to get our vote. And you've done nothing. You've had an opportunity to do something about DACA, and you've done nothing. You've made the border worse. Go and ask them why they haven't done anything. They have the president, they've had the majority. Y apenas se están acordando. Now y'all are remembering about DACA. Why weren't y'all talking about DACA 2 years ago? Stop using this issue. Stop using us to get our vote. And then you toss us aside. That's exactly what the Democrat Party has been doing. They only remember about us and the issues that we care during election. They're on their way out. And all of a sudden, they want to fight DACA.
There are far too many Hispanics that are locked up at the border, being deported. Families are being broken up, and we barely even hear about it. Like the wall was all the rage in Trump's administration, and now all of a sudden they just over there still working on it, but nobody's really said anything. All the way as far back as Obama and Bush's administration, they were talking about these dreamers, people who had been in the country, educated in the country, that just wanted the ability to participate in the American dream, but were being denied that because of laws that just hadn't been passed on what their immigration status were going to be. Some of them were even born here, but because of not having the correct documentation, they weren't even able to prove that. But instead of getting rid of that ambiguity, they just used these people to prop up these social platforms. And then, unlike with Black people, where they had to cut us those social and civil rights back, they have not done anything for these people. And while we as Black people are still marching, talking about how we gonna overcome, we got a group of people, disenfranchised people right now, who understand the struggle that we're in. And I've likewise begun to see more Asian and East African people begin to come out as well and really say, like, hey, this administration is racist. Huh? You think so? We're in a country that has tried, at least, to colonize the whole entire world. There isn't a country that has not been touched by American imperialism on some level, even the Asians. But there are a lot of non-white people in this country that really fail to give Black people the credit for fighting for their civil rights, just because they come in and are extended privilege that Black people still have yet to realize in this country. But the problem is that those people fail to see that the system of white supremacy reaches down into their countries as well. There's colorism in China and Japan, just like there's racism here. There's whole caste systems based on skin color, whiter, lighter skin, fairer skin, eye color, that puts you into proximity of being in a higher caste system in India.
Just gave birth to a baby girl, and she told me that as soon as she had the baby, all her relatives were calling her from India, And without a doubt, every relative asked her if the baby was a Gori or a Kali. And that to me was so tragic. As you can notice, I'm wearing this patch that says Kali. This word was used to ridicule me for all of my lifetime. And now I'm reclaiming this word because I'm proud to be Kali. And I think we should all be. Even if you want to forget about this term, every Fair and Lovely commercial is there to remind you that, if you don't lighten your skin tone, you might not find love, success, or even jobs for that matter. All of us can realize that, beauty is in every skin tone, and that beauty is defined by us. It's our perspective, and we can redefine beauty if we want.
The things that Americans and Europeans have come in and done to India is a monstrosity. In the same way that they're trying to wipe away Black history in this country, relegated to 1 month where they tell us the stuff that they like about what Black people did in this country, they've done the same thing with all these other brown people that are in this country. But the problem is coming in because if these people don't identify with the white power structure, especially in America, what can Black people offer them? We have no industry. We have no infrastructure. We have no Black power. We got Black culture. Oh, yeah. Asians love to break dance. We got Black culture for sale. We even got Black celebrities for sale if you like one. You can buy one, get them to say what you want them to say. But we don't have any real Black power. If these people were to unplug, disconnect from the white power structure, what in the way of political, social, economic power could Black people offer people of other races, nationalities, and ethnicities? We never stop to think about what it takes to actually speak truth to power as Black people. We just think the culture is enough, and it's not. And the culture hasn't even given Black people true liberation.
That's liberation, and baby, I want it.
But I am going to, in my Fred Hampton style, extend the hand of fellowship to say most non-white people are living as socialists in this country anyway.
We don't think you fight fire with fire fists, we think you fight fire with water fists. We're going to fight racism, not with racism, but we're going to fight with solidarity. We said we're not going to fight capitalism with Black capitalism, but we're going to fight it with socialism.
White people are too, but they don't call their socialism, which is weird because, where do you think the Social Security Administration came from? What do you think the New Deal was? But okay. All right. What do you think Roosevelt was doing? But okay. All right. But in Fred Hampton style, extending the bridge.
We said white power to white people. White power to white people. Brown power to brown people. Brown power to brown people. Yellow power to yellow people. Yellow power to yellow people. Black power to black people. Black power to black people. X power to those that we left out. X power to those we left out.
In the 70s, we had the Rainbow Coalition. We had groups of people that said, listen, you're disenfranchised, I'm disenfranchised, she's disenfranchised, you're disenfranchised too. Let's figure out a way to work together and create a system that pushes back against white supremacy and oppression so that we can actually all have liberation, because mostly all people in America are living like refugees right now. I'm going to do a separate episode so that my episodes aren't 30 minutes long every time, talking about people who are being displaced, becoming economic refugees, having to flee to states and areas and populations where they can afford the cost of living. What do you think that's creating? It's creating ghettos. Okay? For people who don't know how Nazi Germany became Nazi Germany, don't believe me? Just watch. Keep watching it. The poorer people, the unskilled people are being relegated to living in certain areas because they're being priced out of major cities. It's not a coincidence. How do you fight inflation? By raising the price of everything. How does that stabilize the market when you're not raising wages? So there's clearly a bigger picture going on. Somebody's getting rich somewhere in this capitalistic system. But in order for people to be rich, they have to crush somebody. And right now it's the middle and working poor class. Okay? They're going to be ground to dust underneath the wheel of capitalism while we all sit around and argue about who's more attractive, about who's got white skin. And that's not affording anyone anything because, like I said, many of the Indian people, red dot, not feather, because those are not Indians people. Those are indigenous people, but they're not aboriginals. That is a conversation for another day. But for these disenfranchised people who have come here seeking asylum as refugees in America, many of them pay an exorbitant amount of money to sponsor their family members to come here. I mean, if you think our tax system is bad, get involved in immigration, okay? Okay? It's it's unnecessary. The amount of money that they make these people pay to come into this country. And I mean, don't get me wrong, they're getting tax breaks and all that stuff. I get it. But my point is, a lot of them are practicing group economics. They'll come here, live 4, 5, 6, 9 to a house, and then save their money. As they save their money up, they go out and they buy 2 or 3 houses at one time, 3 or 4 cars at one time. Socialism. And there's the only thing that's keeping Black people who are some of the richest people in this country. That's what's going over your head. We're pumping trillions of dollars into the economy despite only making up 11 to 13% of the population based on what you put on your census. Come on. You got a lot of biracials that don't want to be Black. You got a lot of Afro Latinas darker than me, but they'll put on the census that they're white Hispanic. So these are just based on self-reporting numbers that these people ain't Black. I ain't buying it. But my point is, we got all this Black money, and that money should equate power. It should equate systems. It should equate ingenuity to be able to push back against white power structures. But it doesn't translate to that. You can't get mad if these people ain't. I mean, there are only two sides. There's Black and white. Black and white. We're going to have to rise above these distinctions. Women are being crushed under the patriarchy. All men who are not white men are being crushed under the patriarchy. You answer to white privilege. And it's time for us to stop arguing amongst each other about who should be dominant and who needs to submit. I just got done on TikTok going back and forth with somebody I'm trying to respect about the fact that, men don't want to compete with women in their home. Okay, die alone. You said we was going to. How do we die alone? And y'all don't die alone, right? And then I know I'm on a tangent. This other guy was like, men don't care about dying alone. Okay. End of argument. End of discussion. Like we don't care anymore. I'm trying to figure out how can we feed children, take care of the elderly, how we can begin to unify with other marginalized communities, how we can get educated, make sure we have engineers and doctors in our community. Because if this whole thing burns down, and it is, America is a house on fire. Tennessee Williams said we all live in a house on fire.
America's on fire right now. And until that fire's extinguished, don't nothing else mean a goddamn thing.
Martin Luther King said over 50 years ago, he integrated his people into a burning house. And we're really in here arguing about who's the better person in a house that's on fire instead of figuring out how many of these cups of water we can put together. If we can't stop the fire, can we at least make a path to get out? America is a house on fire. It's been that for a very long time. because we don't have the group economics as Americans that other nationalities of people have coming here. Africans have that national solidarity. They've done nation building. Asians, which Indians are Asians, but I'm making a separate distinction for them. Everybody comes here with origins, with socialist and communistic systems of being able to get to wealth, at least if nothing else, to survive this economy. But we still out here pointing fingers at each other, and I think it's weird. I think it's crazy. I mean, we can look at all minorities put together, and they're the majority of people in this country, but they would rather band with white supremacy and find comfort in the arms of an angel in the bosom of white supremacy than to fight the power.
It is always us versus them.
I mean, there's so much more to be won if we can come together. If we can understand what oppression costs each one of us. We're all down here on the bottom trying to divide a very small portion of what's left over. We're all picking up the crumbs that fall from rich people's mouths and actually mad at each other, fighting with each other. Really still talking about gender, color, political affiliation. I've tried to figure out what the words are that I can come on this platform and say that will inspire even just a few people to think outside the box, to see even their small contribution as being imperative to the whole so that something can change. If you see what I see and you feel as I feel,
But if you see what I see, if you feel as I feel, and if you would seek as I seek,
go ahead and drop that fire headphones emoji for me in the comments. I look forward to engaging with you there. I don't think I have all the answers. I just want to have a conversation. I just want to find my tribe of like-minded people that says, listen, there's something greater up above us, up above these petty disagreements, religious affiliations. We got to lose all of that if we're going to find any bit of our dignity as human beings and be able to treat each other with that common respect. Because these isms, they're causing us to lose our humanity and not be able to recognize that humanity and divinity in other people because we're so caught up in this individualism. It's time to make a change. You know, if you with it, then I'm with it. Let's talk about it. But until the next transmission, you already know, clock out for me. You dismissed.
Y'all niggas, and you gonna be niggas forever, just like us. Niggas. You're not niggas.